Hello, subscribe to the channel, and leave your like. 7.5 months ago, the war between Russia and Ukraine began. However, the course of the armed conflict did not go exactly the way the Russian government had hoped. The Ukrainians managed to resist the advances of their adversary with some skill and were even able to regain some territories. Such resistance, however, made nuclear threats come into being on the part of Russian President Vladimir Putin. For that reason, the Doomsday Clock, created by the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists to measure the imminent risk of nuclear chaos, is getting closer and closer to hitting midnight. Understand the case. Creation of the Doomsday Clock. Created in 1945 by Albert Einstein and scientists from the University of Chicago, who had participated in the development of the first nuclear weapons in the Manhattan Project, the Bulletin of Nuclear Scientists was responsible for establishing the Doomsday Clock 2 years after the end of World War II. The aim was to represent the apocalypse as the midnight of a clock, carrying out a countdown that represents threats to the world and humanity. In this way, the Doomsday Clock has become a pop culture symbol and a true indicator of when we are threatened by climate change, disruptive technologies, and what the authors called a nuclear weapons catastrophe. The last time this clock was changed was in January 2020, when Bulletin President Rachel Bronson solemnly announced that we are 100 seconds from midnight, the closest position to apocalypse in history. At that time, the war between Russia and Ukraine had not yet started, but the tension between the two countries was already rising and the Russians had sent troops to the Ukrainian borders. The time of the Doomsday Clock is set each year by the Council on Science and Security, an expert group that includes 11 Nobel Prize winners. This year's bulletin, published before more concrete signs of Russian invasion of Ukrainian territory, showed a completely different picture. In the view of experts, the defeat of candidate Donald Trump in the U.S. elections in 2020 had brought hope that the catastrophe could be stopped or even reversed, with promises of measures for a safer world announced by President Joe Biden, including reintegration into the Paris Agreement and political stability with Russia. However, the Doomsday Clock panel judged that this was not enough to balance negative international security trends that were slow to develop and continued across the threat horizon into 2021. Much of this has to do with the way the Russians led by Putin handled international politics and the interest in Ukrainian territories. Therefore, it is conceivable that the progress of the war between Russia and Ukraine, added to the constant threats of a possible escalation to a nuclear conflict, could cause the Doomsday Clock to reach its most drastic number ever in the next report card. Until the next video.